This conference will now be recorded.
All right, going to call this finance meeting to order. It is February 8th at 5:31 p.m. It is conducted via GoToMeeting because of the executive order. However, I am here in the Village Hall. With us today, we have Treasurer Sally Bennett, Trustee Julia Rourke, Trustee Lori Morgan, and myself, Trustee Jeremy Graham. Let's start off. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes for both December 22nd and January 11th?
I'll make the motion, Julie, to approve both sets of minutes.
And I will second that motion.
All right, let's take a roll call. Julie?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And Jeremy says yes as well. That is approved. Moving on to number 2, conflict or disclosure of conflict of interest. Nope. All right. Now, I always wondered about this. Should that be number 1? Shouldn't that be the first thing that we do?
It kind of is after approval of the minutes.
That's true. That's true.
It could be number 1.
It doesn't really matter. I'd have to look and see what that is on the Public Works. I don't even remember. Anyway, now number 3, public comment. There is nobody here in the village, and there is nobody on GoToMeetings. Number 4, as of our Government Solutions update.
No update. I haven't heard anything more.
Sally, is their work then done, or are they still auditing some things and looking for more?
You know, I was going to take a harder look at that because I believe they still are looking at things. I don't know if they're waiting for a response from certain groups. Do you remember that message they sent that it was kind of hard to understand regarding the way the law was, and if they asked it in a certain way, then I don't remember, but I don't remember what entity it was for. I don't know if it was, I don't think it was sales tax. I think it was something else, but I never had an opportunity to follow up and find out where they ended up with it. Are they still waiting? What the status is? So I have a rep who is available by email. I'll just send him an email.
Okay.
Perfect. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, was it a 3-year contract we had with them?
Yes.
And we've got to be just starting or into our 3rd year.
No, the contract was that when they find something, we split it with them for 3 years. So I know that ComEd thing that they found, I do keep track of which payment it is. Should be on the warrant list.
Yes, I'm glad you are.
I actually note it with each payment so that we know where we're at. 15 out of 36.
So is it your understanding, Sally, they'll just keep sweeping this and seeing if they pick up anyone in any of the buckets, whether it be telephone, AT&T, whatever, tax, and then the 3-year clock just starts when they find things, right? So it's an ongoing relationship, or?
And I guess that's something I need to ask. I don't really remember.
Okay.
And I assumed that once they hit each one, if they found something, I don't know why they would go back, because then that would reset everything, but maybe. Ask. I don't know also whatever happened. I know they wanted to sue ComEd
Yeah.
And they put that ad in the Chicago Times or whatever, but I don't think anything ever came of that.
Were they involved with the whole mobile thing? Weren't we missing taxes from mobile or something for a long time? Did we find that or did they find that?
We discovered it from the video gaming process, and actually we didn't, Kelly Williamson did. And that's still ongoing, and I don't believe that that goes way back. I think, I know that we were in contact with IDOR regarding the sales tax for mobile, I want to say like 2016 or 2017. And then it has to do with the address. There are two addresses, one that was when they were with the county and one when they're incorporated with us. And I believe that the property tax had the old address. So when the video gaming started up, because they're both state agencies, they used that old address, and it kicked back this, kicked back to them not paying us sales tax, I think. I spent a great deal of time on it, and it's in Mary's court, so I'm not really sure. Maybe we can ask her for an update tonight.
Sure. All right. Anything else with Azavar? Hearing none, moving on to number 5, the 2020 budget. We should be wrapping that one up here. I think we have until April or March that we have done.
We actually stop accepting accounts payable at the end of February. Okay. So we're almost ready.
All right. Looking at the revenues and everything, we're looking pretty good. Is there anything you would like to add to that, Sally? If not, that's okay. You don't have to find something.
I didn't have anything prepared to talk about. I think we look pretty good too.
All right. Moving on to number 6, our big one, the 2021 budget. We were, from last meeting, we were good to go. There were a couple changes. We added cost for Comcast, the additional cost for Comcast. We had adjusted the costs for the salaries. And there was one more change. Sally, what was that one more change? Was it something to do with police?
I know that we also changed the cash payment to our RWRD from 1.5 to 1.4.
Correct, yep.
But it does seem like there was something with police, and maybe it's because we talked about their training budget.
Yeah, in the committee meeting the other day, I think they said something about slashing their training budget some and not having money in there for like the beginner officer training. I can't remember what it's called, but the schooling.
That wasn't it. Do you remember? Sorry?
Yeah, it was just, we originally had 13,000 is what we had budgeted for, and then it went down to 9,000.
Because it was enough to cover new training, and that was
Get the initial training, send someone through the academy.
correct. And then there was one more. It was Chief was talking, like we forgot to, I'm sure it's in the notes. It was like $600 for some type of fees or dues.
Yeah, it was like miscellaneous professional fees or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that we added in afterwards. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You got it.
So those were the only changes that we had made there.
I couldn't hear what Nick was saying. So what other changes were there?
It was like $600 for professional dues that Chief had emailed, and we just forgot to add in there. It was, I want to say it was $600.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one.
But other than that, everything was the same. So the plan this month is again to bring it to the board for approval.
Yes.
The only question I had, and I know we're going to talk about this, I'm assuming at in the executive session, but Julie, from your police meeting, from the police committee meeting you had the other day, do we, if that adjusts the salary?
It doesn't adjust anything. It's the same
No?
number. It's just, it's the same number. No, there will be no adjustments.
Okay. That's not how I understood it, but that's fine. Not a big deal at all. I guess my real question though, Sally, can we approve the budget minus blank, like everything's approved minus this one line item? In case that was a discussion point later.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like the minutes when there's a mistake and you say, well, we approve it with this correction. We could do
Okay.
it that way. If something comes up at the meeting,
Okay.
we just have to get it approved so that we can do the appropriation so that we can do it on time.
Perfect. Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure, so that we can at least get, if something does happen, that we can move forward with this. Okay.
Jeremy, are you talking about the police salary line item?
Correct.
Yeah, that won't change no matter what we decide tonight. That'll be exactly the same number.
Okay. That sounds good to me.
Maybe the legal would change
Yeah,
depending
Yes.
on what happens.
And we're better than balanced, right? If I remember right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I want to say there's like 9,000, but I don't remember. Where is that?
Wasn't it like 9,600?
I never trust my memory on that because I did make a bunch of changes.
Yeah, 9687 it looks like. At least on the version that was in your all your attachments email.
That's what I have too. And then, you know, it's just like any other year. If something major comes up, we may have to do a supplemental appropriation ordinance and fix it.
From there. Mhm. All right. In that case, can I have a motion to bring this to the board for approval?
I will make that motion.
I'll second.
All right. Lori?
Yes.
Julie?
Yep.
And Jeremy says yes as well. So that is going forward from the committee. Number 7 is the new garbage pricing. And Sally had brought this up. We don't need to figure out the actual contract with Gills. That's already taken care of. But I guess every year for the last, 10 years or something like that, we have added on 25 cents to the general population's fee. And it was 10 cents to
Yes.
for senior citizens. The question is, do we want to continue that for this next contract?
And
Go
I
ahead.
don't know.
Lucinda.
I don't know if you read the ordinance that I provided, but when we did the contract negotiation last time, we went ahead and created an ordinance with this differential all at the same time. So it was just automatic when the rate changed each year. We didn't have to, the board didn't have to vote to approve the rest of it. I know the new contract has a rate that we won't know until the CPI is released. But I imagine we could have some variance like this that just says just that. It would be 25 cents added to the new rate based on the CPI.
Do we have a sense, is this 25 cents covering our administrative expenses, do you think?
Well, I looked back to 2015 through 2020. And what I did is I took the amount that we spent, that we paid to Gills, and the amount that we received. And the difference each year is between $3,400 and $6,300. And I think it just depends on maybe late fees and things like that, as to why it varies, and just the timing of new accounts, and there's probably some overlap. So, I guess if you think about our new staff people, what is the rate in that line item? In O&M, we have, oh, wait, I don't want to look at that. I want to look at this. So 50% paid by O&M is $17,017.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
The salaries for the
Oh.
administrative assistants that work in the front office,
Okay.
because they're the ones that are processing the bills.
Which is, and we have garbage and water all in the same.
Uh-huh.
So,
I think we need to charge something, whether this
oh,
quarter is
absolutely,
it.
we need to charge something. I guess the question is, are we covering our expenses now? I mean, do we want to set up an ordinance that just puts quarter on arbitrarily and 10 cents and realize it's costing us money administratively to get the job done? You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And we've talked about trying to get these things online and all that other stuff, which would make it a whole lot more efficient, but I don't know, at what point do we look at it and say, okay, we've been charging and we get an extra 3,500 to 6,000, whatever you just said, is that even covering our costs, our administrative costs?
I don't know that anyone has looked at it to the point where they know that answer. It's more or less just like, well, we have administrative fees on our water bill, we have administrative fees on our garbage bill. I don't know that anyone has analyzed that against the actual administrative costs, at least for some time.
Well, then
Yeah.
we'd also have to know specifically exactly how long they're working on it for, and if they switch topics or switch subjects to something else.
I think in the past, they've just looked at it like, well, we know they're spending time on that and these other things. It's more just not just to offset those costs, but also trying to keep the bill cost to a certain level for the citizens. So I think that's why, it's not specifically our administrative costs, because, we're always just trying to offset everything.
Mhm.
Well, and that little bit would help more, so we're gonna get taxes from them anyway.
Well, and for the time being, we have the capital charges too for the water, and I think that goes on for, what, another decade or two, or I don't even know how long that's slated to go. So we start adding on a lot more on the other, but I'd hate for us to be collecting 6,000 and us spending 12,000 to get the work done,
Mhm.
$12,000 worth of labor, which I really don't know what we charge, I don't know.
I don't
I think
believe it's that much, but
Well, it's water and garbage bill is the same, so it's, you know what I mean? It's time spent on both areas.
Mhm.
And yeah. So
So the
there,
ordinance that
there
you had in the list was
administrative,
an old one, right?
what's that?
The ordinance I saw in the packet was an old one, right?
Yes, it expired in 2020.
Yeah. And you're proposing we do another one with a repeat of that, but we don't, but the fees are totally different.
Yeah, I just brought it to your attention that that expired. We really can't charge the people any extra until we have the board vote on it and create an ordinance to do so. And already we missed 1 month. And now we'll definitely, Mary won't have anything ready tonight. So we're already shortchanging the year by not having this done.
What is the garbage fee? Is it, I thought we were freezing a year, are we not, or did it go up from Gills with this contract? What's the difference between last year's price and this year's price to us?
25 cents to us,
Okay,
because that was the increase that Gills had on our chart
okay,
in the past contract.
okay. And because we don't have an ordinance saying we're gonna charge this admin charge, we couldn't charge anything for January and we can't charge for February and we probably can't charge for March, depending on what Mary's schedule is.
Yes.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, we got to bring this up tonight and get this started.
Would you guys like to put a number down and bring it to the board from the committee, or would you like to discuss it at the board? I honestly feel that us coming up with something and bringing it to the board is going to be more beneficial than allowing everybody to talk about dimes for an hour.
No, so we're talking about another 20, just keep doing what we're doing, Sally, right? 25 cents added to whatever price we get for that year, which we won't know until the beginning of each year.
Right.
So yeah, the
I would
ordinance.
say-
The other
I
thing-
guess I would like to see, us do that for 2021 just so we continue, but I'm almost would like to see a process analysis done, to really see what it's actually costing us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was going to say too. Maybe we just get through the year and have a plan to do an analysis and come up with another one for the following years.
Yeah, I like that idea. And I think, again, I'm going to push for this getting more online and more electronic if we can. I mean, there's so many places that are just requiring it anymore. And I know we have, I think, do you remember what our ratio is on senior citizens because of the rate that they get on garbage? What's our rate between seniors and not seniors? We've got a lot of seniors.
I want to say it's like 850 regular residents and 220 seniors.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was, I was thinking it was different than that. Okay. Because the only reason I ask is they tend to be a little more resistant to the online stuff, but. Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of bringing it from the committee, Jeremy, to go ahead and add a quarter to get this done right away as soon as Mary can get it done for this year. And let's kind of take a look and see if we can assess what it's actually costing us for future before we go on with 2022. So I'll make that motion.
Sounds good to me. Do I have a second?
Yes, I will second.
All right. Roll call, Julie,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
and Jeremy says yes as well. Perfect. And so that is for just the 2021 year. We're going to add 25 cents to a regular civilians rate and 10 cents to a senior citizens rate. And then look further this year if we need to raise that additional cost. We're going to call that administrative cost.
That's what it is, I think.
Whatever
we
it's
have
called in this ordinance.
Okay.
We're calling it a service charge.
Service charge. Okay.
Do we have this as an agenda item on the board packet, though?
Yes, yes, we do.
Oh, we do.
And
Okay,
this
good.
was in there too,
Okay,
I
good.
believe
Thanks.
so.
That's how we used to do it. I finally remembered is anything we thought we were gonna do, we threw it on the board and we just crossed it off if we didn't end up getting it.
And that last
So
one only went through 2020, huh, Sally? It didn't go to 2021, even though we knew what 2021 price was?
No, it clearly says 2020. And I think the only reason we knew what 2021 was because we extended the contract with the same rules past the dates,
Okay,
even though it wasn't identified on there. So this, I don't believe it has the same provision. It might. But this is just an ordinance, so it's not a contract that would have that same language.
right, okay.
all right. Moving on to number 8 is the audit contract. Sally had sent some stuff out on this a while ago. It was the new one. It was very, very similar to the old one. Then she found the old one and forwarded that out to us as well. As far as my understanding goes, we like this auditing company. They've done a great job, and they're good. Is there anything else you'd like to add on that one, Sally?
No, I'm indifferent, but they have not done anything wrong to make me say that we should go elsewhere.
When's the last
I
time
think
we priced this? I'm sorry, Lori.
I
Go
think
ahead.
I think I asked this before, but there's no, I guess, I don't want to say repercussions, but issues with us using the same company. I mean, year after year, there's no concern about having a fresh set of eyes or, I don't know. Just coming from audit, I know they like us to change when we outsource, who we use, and then internally, which auditor is doing the audits. And so maybe that's not a concern for the village. I only know banking, so I'm not, saying that we have to do that. I was just curious. I mean, I don't have a problem using them at all, but I was just curious about that.
One of the things that makes it difficult is that it's more expensive to change because the new firm would need to spend a lot of time and man hours entering all of our data into their software. So there's a little bit of a savings by continuing with the same company. I can tell you that there will be different people from the Benning Group. They've actually changed our auditors to the Freeport location. So I won't be working with the same people that I usually do, if that makes you feel better that it has a different set of eyes. Also, Jenny Blocker, the partner that is kind of assigned to our group, she's relatively new too. We usually work with Kurt Kleckler in the past. And I was trying to think of who else it was. Jamie Murray was the main auditor for several years, and she took another position with the school district, the Rockford School District. And then Jill Johnson, she's actually a Winnebago person. She took over as kind of the head auditor for a while. But like I said, now I don't believe that I'll be working with her anymore. Also, with the government.
I think that satisfies, that fresh set of eyes, you know what I mean? That I think is good, because sometimes I know, if you get the same person, their background is the same, and so they look at the same things year after year, and you get someone else whose background's a little different, they may look at things a little differently, and maybe, not that I think we're doing anything wrong, but just find some
no.
things or make some suggestions to, help us, hey, did you think about this or that? So I think it'll be good if we have, that fresh set of eyes. And if we can get it for the discounted price, that's even better.
So
Yeah,
how
I
many
agree.
how many years have we used Benning, and when's the last time we've at least priced it out to see, ask for different proposals?
I believe, trying to think of when we changed. When I first started, we were using Elliott and Company, and they were, I think we changed, we bid it out, I want to say like 2012. And we have had a couple of contracts with Benning that were 3 years each. So my timing might be off a little bit there. But the other piece of it is, I think that because the government stuff is a little bit tricky, I think that's why why it's good that we have Mark Olson, because he is also an alternative to me. And not that I wouldn't resist bidding it out other than just the timing of this 1 year. I don't have preferred people or anything like that. We don't have time to bid it out.
Not necessarily suggesting it right now. I'm just asking the question of how long it's been and so forth. So
Mike McKinnon was calling me a few minutes ago. I'm wondering if maybe he needs the information to get in this meeting, but I don't know if he's contacted any of you.
no.
Did not.
I'm gonna text him real quick and.
Okay.
Where did it go?
Do we need to approve the audit contract then, or?
We
Yeah.
do. If it's going to become from committee, yes.
And I did
And-
read it, but I can't recall. Is it a
Finance
1 year?
meeting, do you need the number to get in?
I was trying to find the price difference between the two.
So this year, we paid
14.9.
$14,600.
Okay, and so
And $14,900 is the proposed increase with the new contract.
okay, so a $300 increase. I did that math right, correct? Okay. Okay. So just $300. I just wanted to make sure. All right, then yes. If I can have a motion to approve the re-signing of the Benning Group audit contract with an increase of $300 to $14,900 for the year 2021.
I can make that motion.
All right, and Julie is miming.
I'll second.
All right, we'll do a roll call. Lori?
Yes.
Julie?
Yep.
And Jeremy says yes as well. So that is approved. That will come from committee. Good. All right, moving on to number 9. So those are the only 3 things. 6, 7, and 8 were the only 3 things I want to say actually on the agenda for the board meeting. I don't have it exactly in front of me.
Let's see here.
somewhere here in my emails. I love that we don't have piles of paperwork anymore, but it is still a pain.
Those were the three things, and then it says to schedule the public hearing, which will automatically be the next board meeting. It's just a formality to remind you.
And I'll ask you about that in new business just to make sure I say whatever I'm supposed to say correctly. Moving on, number 9, aging and the eye drop, water bill delinquency. That was in that big email that you sent out, which was awesome. As it just everything all together is so nice.
Good.
Thank you.
Kelly mentioned that she's really proud of how this aging report has been reduced. She has sent out a lot of letters, and even though it is a lot to do, there's a lot to do with eye drop on here. She said, you know, eye drop really doesn't help us in the utility billing. It does for police fines, but the lien letter, I think it must be like a mean lien letter that she sends out that kind of gets a good response. So
Yeah, she's been doing a nice job. I noticed that. That report looked very good.
So I didn't have any questions. I don't know if there's anything you want me to ask or look up, but I think it looks pretty good.
What do the highlighted names mean?
I wonder if that means, no.
I couldn't find a common denominator between them.
Is that the 90 days? No, because the very first one is more than that. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
That might have been something she was using as a way to
track who's
update, and maybe she just didn't clean it up. Yeah.
Okay. Well, like I said, awesome job. It's getting smaller. Yeah, because this one was like 2 pages, 2-3 pages a few months ago. That's good. It might mean that the economy and people are getting back to work and all sorts of good things.
I hope so.
Didn't we go back to charging late fees though also?
Yes, but I was going to bring that up.
Suddenly everybody has money.
It's amazing how that works.
Mhm.
All right, number 10, bank reconciliation for October.
Any questions?
We still got plugs in there, huh?
The same ones. So that's comforting to me that that doesn't change.
Sally, are you getting closer to a point where, I don't know, what's you know, like maybe I have a 2-month lag being more consistent rather than being, you know, I'm not blaming you. I know we've been shorthanded in turnover and everything, but can we get to a point where we're maybe just a couple months lagged, because it's only going to help you, obviously. As you know, the longer you go in between them, the harder it is to find all the.
It truly is. I am almost done with November, and I'd really like to have definitely 2020 wrapped up by our next meeting, and ideally January too, but I don't want to overpromise, but all these things that have been taking up my time, the CURE grant, the supplemental appropriation, whatever they all are, I've been trying to forget them all, but it's getting better, and my time at home is well used for this stuff, and things are getting better at the office. Kelly is doing a great job. She is leaning on me less and less.
Good.
And isn't your intent to help when everyone new gets trained up, that you're going to have them help you out in that aspect, correct?
Absolutely. One of the things I did on Friday was create some procedures for doing one of my functions with the board packet. When it's called Positive Pay, it's a banking function, but when I do all the checks for the board meeting, because we have an ancient system, I have to either create a file that has all these checks that's comma separated, or we can go onto the bank site and just enter them into a prefab form on there. And to me, it doesn't make sense to create a file and then upload the file when I can just go onto the bank site and enter them in really quick. But those are our two options at this time. And I know that one of the ladies in the front office can do that. That would free up a good deal of my time, and they already have banking permissions. So it would just be a really simple thing. It's just an example of some things I can give up.
Speaking of banking, my daughter's going through audit classes now. And she knows I'm on finance for the village. So, and I've asked this question before, but I just can't remember the answer. Does anyone on finance committee actually ever look at bank statements? I don't think I ever did. Jeremy, I don't know, do you ever see a bank statement? And should we be looking at a bank statement periodically? No distrust.
Oh, no.
You just got done learning about Rita Crum.
I had asked that when I first joined the committee, and Sally had explained that, we have that separate accountant that's reviewing. I guess they could be in cohorts together. I didn't think about that, but because we do at least have a second set of eyes looking at them. At that time, everyone was in agreement that we were okay with that. But
because Mark Olson reviews my bank reconciliations.
Who does?
Mark Olson, our accountant.
Okay.
And that's also how we get around that, because otherwise we only had one person.
Right.
But I download those bank statements every month. It wouldn't be any problem at all to email one or all, or I'm open to suggestions.
Yeah, I don't like to send bank statements over email personally. I mean, we've been hacked already once at least, right, at the village. I don't tend to send any statements out through email. So I don't know. I thought I would bring it up. To me, it wouldn't hurt for us to periodically look at a statement, but it doesn't have to be part of the agenda every month. Probably not, but I don't know. Just a thought.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we could do it quarterly as well.
Yeah. We'll just have to figure out a system that works again. I'm not real keen on sending bank statements on email, but of course we send all kinds of information over email now. So
yeah, we probably should look at, asking, our email provider if we have the option to do encrypted messages.
yeah.
At the very least, like I said, we do it quarterly and we come back in person. We can get a physical copy of it 4 times a year and look over it. We need to have.
If nothing else, we're coming up with a great list of to-do items for 2021 in this meeting.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Laura. It's like we need to sit down and really write down everything we want to fix, and so we can slowly go through it all. We just add one item to the agenda every time.
All right, you're writing all this down, aren't you, Jeremy? Because I'm in my easy chair right now.
I am. We'll have to go back to the last couple of meetings though, because we always have the ideas to change. We got to get them all on one sheet and then just slowly knock them off.
That's right.
All right. Moving on to number 11, credit card statements. Anybody see any issues on that one?
Nope.
Laura, any issues?
No, I don't think So I looked it over real briefly just before the meeting, and I don't think I had any questions.
Sounds great. All right, moving on to number 12, office staffing update. Now, Sally, I know you had talked about this already. They're getting trained well, all sorts of good things happening. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, I don't know if I told you guys already, but I did find out that our newest employee, Sue, does have an accounting background. So I don't know if she has a degree in accounting. I'm trying to remember what it was, but so that really made me happy for some of the things that I would like to, work with one of the admins or both of them. But just knowing that she'll probably understand right away what the types of things that I'd like her to do is comforting. So that's the next step.
Hey, Sally, can you remind me, now these people, both of our people are on temp status still, right? And we can make the decision on permanent status at any time, can we not?
Yes.
Or, so where are we with that? Do you have any idea? That's maybe not a finance committee discussion, maybe. I don't know, maybe that's going to happen at the board or?
And we had discussed prior that we were okay with the 500 hours just because, it gives us time to figure out if they're a good fit. I guess what we could plan to do is just set some times to decide, to just look at it and say, how are they doing now? Are we still okay with it? And maybe shorten that time a little bit. Right now, I haven't really spent much time in the office, so I really don't have an opinion. I've been conversing with Kelly about it and just some brief things with the people. So I just assumed it might be smart just to go the full 500 and make sure.
We have the opportunity to do so, might as well.
That's how our budget is set up. It's set up for 28 hours with a current rate for first for up until their date that they get to the 500. And then there's an amount in there which, is just the worst case scenario amount for once they're up for being hired in.
Okay.
All right, number 13, the policy projects. I know we've tabled that before. Any new updates on that? Or we're going to table it for again.
I looked at this and I was like, I don't really know where to begin. So I don't know do you want to just have me send all the policies, the finance policies that we have and start there? Or are we talking,
I don't think I've ever seen any finance policies other than that cash reserve or whatever it was we worked on together. I think when Jeremy was gone, do we have a lot of policies?
Not really. When I first started, there were a lot of policies that we could never find. They were just known things. And we did some work in 2010 and some more recent things. We created SOPs and EOPs, and we created some financial policies for the utility billing and just some regular ones. But it's some things are state statute and they're not written down as a policy. So, it's just kind of, we have some.
So I guess the big thing We wanted to raise the department leader spending limit because all of Chad's stuff is always above his limit. So there's really no purpose unless he wants to buy some caulk.
Right.
So if we can find the policy pertaining to that one, and I think it's the same policy that dealt with the department chairs, what they're allowed to spend. Is that?
Yeah, that's that one I provided a while back.
Okay.
It talks about that. I'll find it and have it ready before the next meeting.
Well, and if we can talk to Chad regarding like what would his number, what would he like his number to be, and then we can just bring it, because I've never heard anything from police complaint or anybody else really discussing this. So we just go to the board saying, hey, here's the current policy. We would like to increase this one to this number because of this, and then we can get rid of it.
Early on, from when I started, that number for all department leaders was $1,100, but I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, the cost of fuel was so high that, and that's a commodity that they buy all the time, the police and Public Works, and it was annoyingly low at the 1,100. So at that time, the board raised it to 15. But now I'm curious if, maybe they don't all need to be the same across the board. I don't know if Kelly needs to have one that high and so on.
Well, I mean, the only person that's ever mentioned anything has been Chad. So I would have to assume either that they're just dealing with it or that they have no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, I mean, I would
suppose-
agree. I wouldn't expect the limits to be the same across the board. I think it needs to be job need specific. So it would make sense that a Chad would have a higher limit with the, type of equipment he's trying to fix. A part for one of those is going to be way more expensive than a part that Kelly may need to order to fix the printer, or, you know what I mean? I don't know what's a realistic example, but that's just, I guess how
That's
I
a
look at it.
realistic example.
So I will talk to Chad then and see what he would like for his limit, and some examples. Because I want $1 million. So and a reason why. And then I'll try to find the policy in my emails. I'm sure it's there. But Sally, if you happen to run across it, like, oh, it's right here on my desktop. If you could shoot it out to us again, and that way we can have something and bring it to the board next month, and then we can get rid of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think I asked Chad in our meeting last month. I just threw it out there and he didn't respond. And I've asked him a couple of times, and I think he just wants to sit down and kind of come up with a number, but we need to press him. 'Cause that is what I've been waiting for. The more we talk about it, the more I'm like, yeah, that is why we stopped with that one policy, was because we've been waiting for Chad and Jimmy.
Oh yeah.
So
Well, and it may be helpful, and not that, Sally, you have time to do this, but, I don't know if it would be helpful to pull, anything that's like that, fuel and parts and, any of those types of invoices, to see, what is the average, what's the high and the low and what's the average of, what they typically need to spend just to do the day-to-day, you know what I mean? Not special projects, not purchasing brand new equipment, but, just getting their jobs done and doing the repairs they need to do.
mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and I bet Chad will know that too, or a pretty good idea.
Yeah, a guess for me, a guess regarding just what I've seen come across, I think his limit should be more like 3,000 or 4,000. There's a company called, it just jumped out of my brain, Core. It's Core, and it's, they supply like the pipe and all the equipment for the water well type stuff. And it's just, he's always over on those. And sometimes it's just easier to put it on the board thing and then get the signature from Mike after, but you know, getting a signature from a chair is kind of it's a lot to ask over and over and over all the time. You know, that's usually for some, like, one thing or a few things. So.
Now, if I remember right, obviously the other bullet point is sitting right in front of me, is the purchase order limit. And that was something that had nothing to do with their spending limit. That was something like, it was caused a lot more paperwork because it was like $500, something very low.
Yes. And I think we agreed at the last time we talked about it, just to eliminate the purchase order process, because we have so many checkpoints for this billing. I don't really think we need to do it. And I kind of thought that was the consensus in our meeting, but I don't want to speak for you guys.
I do remember talking about it, and we talked about how it didn't really serve a purpose anymore. It was a good idea, but it was kind of like merging different systems together. Does anybody? It was a few months ago we talked about this. I want to say it was like November, maybe October. I want to say it was right before budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember talking about it, but I can't remember where we ended on it.
Okay, so if we push that to next month and then we can get it eliminated next month, what do we need to be able to make that decision? So I'd like to see number 13 gone entirely. We get the spending limit, we bring it to the board for approval, we get the purchase order, whatever we decide with it, we're done. So what do we need to be able to make this decision?
Well, we just need to know what spending limits we want each department head to have. And my thought was just to ask them what they think, and then try to make an educated decision on, well, is that too much? Or, you know, I don't usually make policy, so sorry.
Frank just brought up a good point. We have an admin meeting coming up here. We can, if we don't have any answers from that, we'll discuss that and get those answers done then, because everyone should be there.
That's a great idea.
So I get paid the big bucks. All right. So hopefully we'll get that thing taken care of and eliminated entirely. Number 14, any new business?
You know, Jeremy, I do kind of. I'm thinking back to, and I'm just going through my email and I just found it. Frank, back when I was trying to get my head around the whole RRWRD and all the cash and what we owed and all of that sort of thing, Frank forwarded an email to me, goes, since you're doing all that, and he tried to help me understand all the money due, he said, here's a list of all contracts that expire in the district. Here they are. Here's the dates, all of that. And I think he wants finance to kind of be on top of that, is my thought.
He's right here.
Hey, Frank. I don't know if he's talked to you about that, but so I have this email from Frank that I could forward on to you, Jeremy and Lori. And it's probably another thing we should be looking at in the finance meeting and see what, I mean, we need to be well ahead of time prepared when contracts are expiring. So maybe we would have caught this ordinance on gills. Who knows? I mean, these are the things we just kind of have to be on top of. So I'm happy to forward that to you, and we probably should look at it between now and next meeting to see what we need to do to, or maybe we just talk about it for the first time next month to see what we do need to be doing. I don't know. But I'm going to forward this on while I have found it.
Perfect.
Sally, you want it too?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And this all goes with that what we were talking about before. Instead of keeping our heads above water, we'll be able to maintain once we get these systems in place.
Right.
This is good. This is a good rebuilding year. We're going to be golden from there.
Kelly and I actually had a similar discussion today because there's a water rate ordinance that expires this year. So we were like, when should we tell the board that they need to look at this, because that was kind of a Paul Elson project that he did. We used to every year, if we decided to raise the rate, it was one and done until the next time that we decided to raise it. And he came up with a 5-year outlook, and we created an ordinance that was for 5 years, and that expires at the end of 21. But I believe he came up with those rates based on an edited version of our rate study that was done when we decided to go with our RWRD. So someone needs to look at that and decide if we're on track, if we're off track.
Sally, this is Frank Eubank, and I had emailed Kelly today about that, and I believe Chad wants to have a water rate study done this year because he knows the rates are going to be up at the end of the year. So I think that's a public works item. The public works. So I asked Kelly to contact Chad and Mike if it's not on their agenda next month to see if it'll be on their agenda so that we can get the water rate study done this summer. And then I'm hoping we can have our strategic plans maybe in place and have the public come in and kind of weigh in on some of these issues. So, once we have the water rate study, at least we can take a look and see what they're recommending we should charge for our rates, and then we can talk about it at that point.
Thank you.
So one less thing for finance to worry about right now.
And we can also add to our standard items, contract renewals and, 90 days out. That would have solved our problem about the garbage rates coming up in 2022. So we can add that to the agenda. We can always say, what do we have coming up in 90 days? And so we have time to start planning or tell Public Works or whatever group needs to take care of it. But hey, just want to let them know what's going on with that. All right. Any other new business? Thank you, Frank. You're more than welcome to stay if you like. So for the appropriation, Sally, what do I need to say at this meeting? Does it just automatically happen, or is Mary going to go, well, don't forget, we need to do this? And
well, what needs to happen next is that we have to put an ad in the paper for the public hearing at least 3 weeks, or I believe 10 days or something like that prior to the hearing. So that's the starting point. So today at the meeting, we would just pick a date for the hearing, and then Attorney Gaziano would contact the newspaper and have them put that in. And then in the meantime, I would provide the appropriation ordinance. I haven't done that yet because I'm waiting for the budget to be approved, because the appropriation is just a 25% increase on the budget.
okay, perfect. So I just say we need to schedule the hearing. Would like to schedule it for whatever the next board meeting is. And does that come from committee? Do we need to vote on that?
No, it's mainly on ours just to remind Attorney Gaziano and all the trustees that we need to schedule the hearing.
Okay, perfect. I just know it was important and I was going to screw it up otherwise, so I figured I'd ask. And as always, feel free to jump in. He's like, no, you said the wrong word entirely. All right, well, in that case, we have our next meeting scheduled for March 8th at 5:30 p.m. Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
I'm looking real quick, but I think so, because I think I have them all out there.
Yeah, that should be fine for me.
5:30, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And
Well,
again,
in that case,
if you can get the stuff out a couple days before, that would be great.
Well,
Now that
some
you
of
did
these
it once,
things,
you're in trouble.
some of these things like these policies that we're going to look at, definitely, but you know, when we're talking about, I have to wait until the end of the previous month before I can do the report, you know, then it's
Yeah.
just a few days that I have.
Right.
I'll stop talking.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Julie.
Can I have a second?
I will second.
All right, roll call. Julie?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
And Jeremy says yes as well. It is 6:36, and that is the end of the meeting. Awesome job.
See you in 20 minutes.
All righty.